Good evening, everyone. I'm Savannah Martinez, and tonight I'll be discussing Chapter 14's Social Judgment Theory, while specifically focusing on the ego involvement portion of that theory. Ego involvement, according to our text, refers to how crucial an issue is in our lives, basically meaning that our interest or willingness to involve ourselves around the issue all depends on how important it is to us. Now I'm going to provide you with an example of ego involvement in motion. Just to give you a brief summary of my mother and her boyfriend. They've been dating for about 3 years now, and this past Valentine's Day, they invited me over, we hung out, and then they sat me down and asked me for my advice. Basically, they were unhappy because my mom wasn't happy that the gift that her boyfriend got her wasn't good enough, I guess, for Valentine's Day. He didn't put enough effort into it. And on his side, he thought, he tried really hard and that it was very heartfelt and meaningful. And so they just disagreed on how special the gift was supposed to be. So I got to hear both of their perspectives, and I really could care less for this guy, let's just be honest. But I love my mom, and so obviously my bias is kind of towards my mom, but because I love her, I also remember to keep it fair because I don't want to upset her in the future, by upsetting him, because then he'll get mad at her, and you see the chain reaction. So I did my best to keep it fair, listen to them both talk and hear them out, and eventually, I was able to help them come to a conclusion. Now that I have discussed the experience, I'll make some inferences. So in this particular situation, although very specific to my situation, it can be broken down to a very simple story that I'm sure everyone's been involved in. If someone you care about is faced with an issue, and depending on the severity and how close you are to that person, it determines how involved or how immersed you allow yourself to go within someone else's problem. So because it was my mom, I chose to stay involved. I chose to help them work their problem out. Despite, it was kind of awkward, that's not my relationship, that's not my business, but it was my mom, so I decided to keep myself involved and help them work it out. And, if it had been just an acquaintance from work, someone I'm kind of close to, but not really, and they asked me and their boyfriend came and they were like, hey, what do we do? I'd probably be like, hey guys, I'd rather not get involved. I'd respectfully just decline that situation if I didn't have to be in it. So now that I've made some inferences, I will discuss how these inferences transfer into other situations. So basically any situation that you can find yourself in with an issue attached to it, ego involvement will always be present whether you realize it or not. If something has nothing to do with you and does not have your interest in the slightest, chances are you won't get involved, and vice versa. So in conclusion, by determining whether or not ego involvement is your only reason behind immersing yourself in a situation, try to think of how important the issue is to the person coming to you and determine whether or not you want to help. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with ego involvement. If the issue doesn't matter to you, why get involved? But now that we're more aware of its presence in situations, it gives us a chance to view things from someone else's perspective. Just remember, it's okay to put yourself first, but it's also okay to put yourself aside sometimes and do a selfless act and help someone else out just for the sake of being helpful. Thank you all for listening very much, and y'all have a great night. Thank you.